Nosferatu is a remake of the 1922 classic film of the same name, which in turn is one of the first adaptations of Bram Stoker's book, Dracula. There's a whole history of the original Nosferatu that I could go into, but for the sake of time, I will not. I do encourage you to look into it though, it's very fascinating. Anyway, the story follows Thomas and Ellen Hutter and their distinctly different yet linked connections with an old and eccentric Count Orlok, who is in actuality an ancient vampire. Orlok arrives in their small German town and brings with him the plague, along with many, many rats. Death follows in his wake, and it is up to Thomas, Ellen, and others to combat this evil. The 1922 Nosferatu is one of my personal favorite silent films, not just because I'm a Dracula fan. Its German expressionism is highly regarded amongst film fans such as Tim Burton. The character of Count Orlok and his image is well known in pop culture, from things such as the film What We Do in the Shadows all the way to SpongeBob. It has previously been remade once by director Werner Herzog, and a what if type film called Shadow of the Vampire, oddly enough also starring Willem Dafoe, was made in which the premise was what if the actor who played Count Orlok, Max Schreck, was actually a vampire. What does all this have to do with the new Robert Eggers film? A lot, actually. Whether or not it's an adaptation of Dracula is now irrelevant. Nosferatu has taken on such a life of its own that this movie had a lot to live up to. And did it deliver? I think so. It tells the same basic story while adding in new mythos and lore to the source material. The monster is both familiar and new. Firstly, the acting is pretty much all on point, with the standouts being Lily Rose Depp, Bill Skarsgård, and Willem Dafoe. I thoroughly believe that Lily Rose Depp steals the show even more so than the vampire. Her emotional range is incredible to witness. The length she is willing to go to act as this tormented, somewhat possessed young woman is powerful and one of the best acting performances I've seen this year. Credit also goes to Willem Dafoe as Professor von Franz. Again, it's semi-hilarious this is Dafoe's second outing in the Nosferatu project, and I'm sure it was not a coincidence. He's basically the equivalent of Abraham Van Helsing in Dracula, an expert on the occult and dark arts who knows what is going on. I feared he was going to be too over the top, similar to how Anthony Hopkins went in Bram Stoker's Dracula, but I think Dafoe finds a perfect balance between the normal and abnormal personality quirks. And then we have Bill Skarsgård, who is proving to be the new horror icon of this generation. I'm thinking of him as the modern day Boris Karloff or Vincent Price, a truly transformative horror actor who can make all their monstrous characters distinct and different. Seriously, if you're expecting a Pennywise from this, you will be getting something truly different. I love the way he talks and the added touch of his heavy breathing, emphasizing he is a corpse, acting as if he is trying to stay alive. I love the choice that Eggers makes in that we don't see what Orlok looks like for quite some time. It's mostly him in the shadows, or we see him dimly lit. It's only when the horror starts when we get our first good look at him, and it is grotesque and horrifying. Eggers also knows how important shadows are to Nosferatu, and we see them throughout the film in very creative ways. They are both real, but could act metaphorically as Orlok's dark play casts a literal and figurative shadow over the town. He's also a dark shadow clouding the mind of Ellen, haunting her both when she is awake and asleep. There is more to the use of Orlok's shadow here than there is of just that one classic shot from the original where you see him going up the stairs. And as for the horror and frights, I've thought long and hard about this. Is the film too disturbing for its own good? There are moments when I wondered if they might have gone too far, such as the outcomes of Aaron Taylor Johnson's character and family, scenes with Orlok, an out of nowhere sex scene, and so on. But after thinking about it some more, I believe the film is just where it needs to be. If you're familiar with Eggers' work, you know he isn't afraid to push the envelope of odd and disturbing moments in his films. I just caution that Nosferatu can be quite intense to casual viewers of horror. Yes, I know full well there are more graphic and shocking horror films, but this one hit me with at least a few scenes, so I'd be remiss if I didn't warn others. Nosferatu might very well be the horror film of the decade, if not the year. Never before have I seen such build-up and excitement for a horror villain, at least as far back as I can recall. It has stellar acting, directing, cinematography, sound editing, makeup, and so much more. It might not be my favorite film of the year, but it certainly will be in my top 5. So travel to your nearest movie theater and succumb to the powers of Nosferatu. Thanks. This is an O.M.M review. This is O.M.M signing out.